as you can see, I designed the Prezi to match the content of the original PowerPoint for the instructor level. It includes the lesson goal, as well as several of the learning objectives. Well, all of the learning objectives are listed because that's the style that was being used, where the instructor would first establish all of the learning objectives and then move into the content of the course. And as you can see here, I've modeled that style in this Prezi. This was one of the earlier Prezis. Again, I had just learned about using Prezi, and so some of the composition of this Prezi isn't exactly what I would do now. It still gives a good view of how an instructor, again, who wouldn't have any previous experience using Prezi, might actually scroll through each of these before getting into the content. I'm not going to show you all of the Prezi itself. Again, this would typically take about an 8-hour session to get through one lesson. So I'm just going to show you some of the content groupings. So basically I just kind of did a content grouping around every learning objective and covered the different information. I just directly translated from the PowerPoint. So if there was an image on the PowerPoint, I used it in the Prezi. You can see this one section on andragogy as an example of that. The next thing I wanted to kind of show you was also the different ways that I try to incorporate movement. Again, I think I would compose this differently now, having learned some lessons about the way Prezi was given. And this is where a lot of the students objected and said that they didn't really see the necessity for this movement here, and it almost, in a way, distracted them a little bit from what they were trying to learn and understand. But one of the things, the advantages of Prezi is that it does show the visual spatial relationships, and so especially when I was going through these levels of lists, that was a good thing to have, to show that each level kind of built on the other. And so it was a way that Prezi almost did answer some of what we were trying to find a solution to, which was to show information, the cognitive information that we did, in a way that helped students build together the ideas that they were looking for. All right, the next piece I want to talk about is that this content area about providing motivation is actually part of what helped me formulate the final strategy. If you look here, these suggestions on showing classroom knowledge, using motivation, using visual aids and demonstrations, tying information, gaining interest, all of those kinds of things are things that the manual was saying are good ways to instruct, but none of those ways were incorporated into the current curriculum style. You'll notice here this section is trying to incorporate some video, so there were little video clips in the Prezi that the instructor would play, and then he would lead these discussions. I wasn't satisfied with having them grouped together like this, all in one section, and the students also critiqued that kind of kept all of the interaction in just one moment, and it would have been nice to see it further. And then the last piece that I wanted to kind of highlight here is that this is the moment at which I realized how smart art could work. That cone of learning triangle is smart art. It was the first time I tried to experiment with it, and it was very useful in pushing me toward the direction that we ended up using for the new Prezi, or the new PowerPoint style.